In the expansive weed-whispering plains of rural Nebraska, silence serves as more than ambient sound. It functions as a meticulous archivist of human narratives. Jack Reeves understands this profound truth with a visceral clarity born from decades of carefully guarded memories. His weathered hands, calloused from years of truck driving and farm work, have become the physical manifestation of a complex emotional archive, holding stories that demand preservation with an almost sacred reverence. The landscape around him, rolling fields of golden wheat, distant grain silos standing like sentinels, and horizons that stretch endlessly, has been both witness and accomplice to the intricate web of secrets he has meticulously maintained. Rural communities, like his, operate on unspoken protocols, where loyalty transcends familial bloodlines and individual histories are woven into a collective tapestry of shared understanding. Jack's existence has been a delicate choreography of discretion, each mile traveled across Nebraska's highways representing a meditation on the profound responsibility of protecting a narrative that could potentially unravel an entire community's carefully constructed mythology. The letter arrived on a morning that initially seemed unremarkable. Soft prairie light filtering through dusty kitchen windows, coffee growing cold beside a collection of faded photographs that held their own silent testimonies. Its crisp white envelope carried a return address that made Jack's weathered hands tremble with an anticipation both dreaded and inevitable. This wasn't merely a piece of correspondence. It was a potential key capable of unlocking a narrative that had been hermetically sealed for over 4 decades. Jack recognized immediately that the document represented more than ink and paper. It was a challenge to the intricate social contract he had maintained with remarkable precision. Small towns like his operate on complex, unwritten agreements where certain truths remain strategically obscured, not out of malice, but as a form of collective emotional preservation. The boundary between protection and deception becomes remarkably thin in such environments, and Jack had navigated this boundary with the skill of a seasoned navigator. His life as a retired truck driver had been a masterclass in understanding boundaries, physical and emotional. Long hours traversing Nebraska's highways had provided ample time for reflection, for wrestling with the weight of a promise made decades earlier. That promise wasn't a simple commitment, but a complex moral obligation that had shaped every subsequent decision of his life. The highways he had traveled were more than transportation routes. They were metaphorical pathways through memory, each mile marker representing a potential point of revelation or continued concealment. Jack understood that secrets, much like the landscapes he had crossed, possessed their own topography, with hidden valleys, steep cliffs, and treacherous passages that demand careful navigation. His commitment wasn't just to maintaining silence, but to preserving a delicate emotional ecosystem that had sustained an entire community's sense of stability and collective identity. The mysterious letter represented a potential seismic event in this carefully maintained landscape. Its arrival suggested that the intricate walls of silence he had constructed were now vulnerable, potentially ready to crumble under the weight of long-suppressed truth. Jack's hands, which had guided massive trucks through challenging terrains, now trembled with a different kind of navigation, emotional cartography that required extraordinary precision. Rural communities, like his, operate on nuanced, unspoken rules where loyalty is measured not just in blood relations, but in shared understanding and collective protection. The story contained within this letter threatened to disrupt a complex social fabric that had been woven over generations, a fabric so delicate that even the slightest disturbance could unravel entire familial and community narratives. Generations of farmers and small-town residents understand that some truths are better left unspoken, not out of malevolence, but as a form of collective emotional survival. Jack's story was embedded in this tradition, a narrative that existed in the liminal space between protection and potential destruction. The letter represented a moment of profound reckoning, where the carefully constructed walls of silence might finally give way to uncomfortable revelations. His commitment to maintaining this silence wasn't just a personal choice, but a reflection of a broader cultural understanding unique to rural American landscapes. These communities function on intricate social algorithms where individual stories are strategically modulated to preserve collective harmony. Jack had been a master of this delicate balance, understanding that some truths, once released, cannot be recaptured. They spread like wildfire across dry grasslands, consuming everything in their path. The morning light continued its slow progression across Jack's kitchen, casting long shadows that seemed to hold their own mysterious narratives. Photographs of family members, some long deceased, watched silently, their frozen expressions holding secrets that echoed Jack's own carefully guarded story. Each image represented a fragment of a larger narrative, a mosaic of human experience that defied simple explanation. Rural life, contrary to popular perception, isn't about simplicity but extraordinary complexity. The seemingly mundane landscapes hide intricate human dramas, emotional terrains as nuanced and challenging as any urban narrative. Jack's story was a testament to this complexity, a narrative that existed in the delicate space between individual choice and collective responsibility. As he contemplated the letter, Jack was acutely aware that his next actions would reverberate far beyond his immediate circumstances. Small towns operate like living organisms, with each individual's choice sending ripple effects through an interconnected social system. His potential revelation could transform not just his personal legacy, but the entire emotional landscape of a community that had breathed alongside his secret for generations. The stakes were monumentally high, yet Jack approached this moment with the same measured deliberation he had applied throughout his life, understanding that true courage often manifests not in grand gestures, but in quiet, considered decisions that honor complex human experiences. The wheat fields outside continued their eternal dance, bending and swaying with the prairie wind, nature's own metaphor for flexibility and resilience. Jack saw parallels between these landscapes and human narratives, both capable of absorbing tremendous pressure, both possessing an inherent ability to bend without breaking. His story was rooted in this understanding, that survival often requires strategic adaptation, that silence can be a form of profound communication. The letter represented a potential disruption to this carefully maintained balance, a challenge to the unwritten rules that had sustained his community's emotional equilibrium for decades. Decades of truck driving had taught Jack that every journey involves calculated risks, that navigation requires a combination of preparation and intuitive response. This moment felt similar, a critical juncture where preparation met spontaneity, where years of careful preservation might need to give way to a different kind of truth. The emotional landscape he had maintained was about to be tested, its boundaries potentially redrawn by a single piece of correspondence. Yet Jack remained centered, understanding that true strength lies not in rigid preservation, but in the capacity to absorb and transform challenging narratives. As morning transitioned into afternoon, Jack's decision crystallized with the same clarity that had defined his life's most significant moments. The letter would be addressed, the secret would find its path to revelation, but on his terms. Rural American. Life had taught him that stories are living entities, capable of healing as much as they are of causing pain. His commitment was no longer just to silence, but to a nuanced form of truth-telling that honored the complex emotional terrain of human experience. The wheat fields outside continued their eternal dance, bearing silent witness to yet another chapter in the intricate narrative of rural American life. In the vast, sprawling landscapes of rural Nebraska, where silence stretches longer than cornfields. A startling statistic reveals a hidden truth. 73% of small-town secrets never see the light of day. Jack Reeves knows this better than anyone. At 68, with weathered hands that have gripped countless truck steering wheels, and a memory carrying weight heavier than any cargo, he understands the delicate art of keeping a promise. The letter arrived on a Tuesday, crisp and white against the faded wood of his kitchen table. Postmarked from Lincoln, its edges seemed to carry an electric anticipation that disrupted the careful rhythm of Jack's retirement. For 40 years, he had been the silent keeper of a story that could unravel an entire community's understanding of itself. Growing up in Hammond, Nebraska, population 237, Jack learned early that small towns breathe through unspoken agreements. Families intertwine like wheat stalks, their roots so deeply connected that separating truth from protection becomes an impossible task. His father, a stern man with piercing blue eyes, had taught him that some secrets are sacred, not out of malice, but out of a profound understanding of human complexity. The story began in 1976, a year etched with drought and economic uncertainty. Jack was 24 then, a young truck driver already carrying the weight of his family's expectations. His older brother Michael, a local farmer, had disappeared under circumstances that defied simple explanation. The official report suggested Michael had left town suddenly, seeking opportunities elsewhere. But Jack knew different. Memory is a peculiar landscape, Jack often reflected. It's not a straight road but a winding path, with unexpected turns, hidden valleys, and moments that shimmer with unresolved tension. That summer of 1976 held a secret that had been carefully wrapped, tucked away like a fragile artifact waiting to be discovered. The mysterious letter seemed to pulse with potential revelation. Jack's callous fingers traced its edges, understanding that some truths, once unleashed, cannot be contained. Small towns like Hammond operate on a delicate ecosystem of trust, where generations of families have intertwined stories, protecting each other's vulnerabilities. Michael's disappearance had been more than a simple departure. Jack had witnessed something that night, a confrontation between his brother and the Hardley family, local landowners with deep roots and deeper secrets. The details were fractured, like a broken mirror reflecting incomplete images. Raised voices, a sudden movement, the distant sound of a truck engine. For decades, Jack had carried this knowledge like a heavy stone. He'd protected not just his family's reputation, but the intricate social fabric of Hammond. Every trucking route, every conversation, every returned holiday visit was a careful dance around the unspoken truth. The community had its rhythms, its unwritten rules, and Jack was a master of navigating them. The letter sender remained anonymous, but its intent was crystal clear. Secrets have expiration dates. Jack understood that preservation and revelation exist in a complex dialogue. Some truths protect, while others demand acknowledgement. His entire life had been a careful negotiation between silence and potential justice. Nebraska's landscape is not just geographical, it's emotional. Wide-open prairies hold stories of resilience, of families who survived dust storms, economic collapses, and personal tragedies.